employees, more than anything, they want to do good work, grow and progress. Hey, Train!
How are you?
I am great.
What are we doing here today?
You know, it is season 4, vlog 51 and the start of season 4.
Awesome. Now, I haven't seen you in a while. How are the kids? Last time I saw you, the kids just moved to the city. How's adjusting to New York City and having kids live here? How's your new apartment? How's everything going so far?
So the last vlog was picking the boys up from the airport. That was just such a good vlog. And now I've been spending all this time settling them in, getting them into school, getting myself settled into a routine, which has been like somewhat challenging, trying to work out how to juggle everything. And now we are ready to fly, and I am ready to work and whip out some great content and do some really cool stuff. So it's great. Well, I'm really excited about the businesses this year because there's some really cool stuff happening. So firstly, we have Zoota, which I haven't talked about that much on the vlog, and I'm really keen to share more and more about Zoota over the coming year. But Zoota is an Internet of Things business. We actually have a device and a platform that helps track high value assets and fleets. And so we're competing with some pretty big names, and I must say in Australia we're growing really rapidly and it's super exciting. It's a completely new space for me, so I'm out of my comfort zone and learning a lot, but it's really exciting to me to be in a product business, a subscription business, and actually one that is more focused on developing AI rather than developing people. So this is a very, very cool space, and I'm super excited about just getting into the US market with something I haven't ever done before. So I'm gonna keep sharing that with you because that's really cool. Then there's Your Secret Sauce, which is the kids' writing and reading platform, which was actually Digger's idea, and that we crowdfunded that a few years ago. That was super exciting, and we've been working on that. We've redeveloped it, completely brand new website, and we're just doing some interesting things with it, and we have a really strong plan of what we want to do this year, but that's all I'm going to tell you about that right now. And then of course there's What's Next, which is my consulting firm, the one that I started 13 years ago, the one that got me into entrepreneurship and business, and the one that has led me on this really interesting journey. And so we have What's Next in Australia and What's Next PX in New York, and what I've been working on is bringing them both under one global brand, which is What's Next Group. And the reason for that was that I really just want to help as many small businesses around the world, regardless of where they are. And I wanted to leverage the opportunity to just give as much as I can and to put it under one brand and just focus on getting content out and helping them as much as I can through one channel was really important. So that's what I've been working on, and that is super exciting because I just feel like we can just help more small businesses, and that was always the vision and the mission of that business. So that's super cool. So that's what's happening in business, and not to forget the unconventional life and the vlog. So that's just as important as everything else. So that sort of brings everything together to share with you guys what I'm doing.
What's going on today?
So right at this very moment, we are in the biggest thing that's happening in the world right now is the coronavirus. Like we are right in it, and it's super interesting and scary, and we've got really big events that are being cancelled. We've got subways that don't have anyone on it. We've got people freaking out about needing toilet paper. It's a really interesting time, and for us, for What's Next, our whole area of business is in workplaces. So we are getting inundated with clients asking us, what do we do? What do we do in this situation? It's a really stressful time for for small businesses, or for everybody, but in our area of expertise, it's like small businesses are under a lot of strain right now.
And what are small businesses asking?
So probably the biggest thing that everyone's concerned about from an employer's perspective is, how do I keep people safe, and what do we do? Should people be coming to work? Should they be working from home? There's the whole point of, obviously if people have been infected, then they need to be at home, but what about self-isolation for those that may have been in contact, or even just safety, like asking everyone to work from home. So that's probably been, we're obviously not health practitioners, so we're taking all the guidance from everything that's being put out, but that's the biggest thing, is like, how do I manage my workforce during this time? And it's like, it's really tough. Yeah, I mean, look, I do. I think in this situation, people have to work. If you're in an environment where people are not safe and it's not safe for them to come to work, then people have to work from home. And but it's what's really interesting is that people are trying. This has been a workforce change over the last few years anyway, of wanting to implement more flexible work practices and implementing this work from home. So I've obviously thought about this a lot before. One of the key things that I was most concerned about with in this situation of the coronavirus is, if we're putting people into self-isolation, how do we ensure that they are okay and supported throughout that time? Because what happens is, so many people, as we know, are struggling with mental health issues, and for a lot of people, going to work and being part of the community is a big part of them managing that. And so if they are then in self-isolation, and if you think about it from here in New York, like, there's a lot of people that live in tiny little apartments with not much light, and not really where they would want to be spending all their time, and now they're like isolated to do that. That can impact people's mental health, depression, but also just the panic feel it can bring out someone who's suffering from anxiety. So as an employer, if we are saying, yes, you can work from home, or yes, you need to work from home, we need to ensure that we still support them. So we have to be at least sending text messages regularly every day. I would be recommending phone calls, Zoom calls, one-to-one, and also with the team, because we need to keep connected throughout this time, and we just don't know, what some people are suffering with, and how much their workplace supports them in that, and their colleagues, and coming to work and being in a routine. So not to forget about that. This is not just about like physical health, it's like mental health impact too.
What about the commercial side of working from home? Dropping in productivity. There's small businesses that need to keep these businesses running.
I mean, I'm so concerned about the economic impact of this, and I mean, like you see in Italy, I read something today to say that every business has been told they have to shutter their business up unless they're in food or pharmaceuticals. So I was walking down the street of New York today, and I was like looking at the flower shop and the hairdresser and the bootmaker and the florist and the gym. Like, they would all be shut up shop. So what happens? Like, how do they provide for their families? The staff can't work. So, the economic impact is massive. But what I'm finding when I think about working from home, so if you take aside the fact that right now people have to do that, if you are considering having your staff work from home as part of your business structure, I think you need to be really careful with it, because from personal experience, I have tried so many different strategies around creating flexibility, whether we did 4-day work week, we've done just flexible working, like work wherever you feel you need to. Lots of different trials, which we do. We trial things in our business to see whether they'd work for our clients. And every time they have impacted engagement, they've impacted morale, they've impacted training and development, and I have lost staff every time on the back of implementing some sort of work from home thing. Now, this isn't to say that it can't work. Absolutely, I'm not saying that. But don't just think this is a matter of someone coming to you and saying, I want to work from home to create more flexibility with my life, and go, okay, no problem, as long as you get your work done, that's fine with me. It's not as simple as that. And I think that it is so important for teams to be together and for them to be near their leader. Oh, I mean, look, the reason we have always had an open plan space as opposed to offices, or even me sitting in an office, was always because of the learning and the connection, because you learn from people when they're on the phone, when they're having whatever interactions. You learn how they actually work, how organised their desk is, and that sort of stuff is learning. And you segregate someone or put them at home, and then suddenly they're not seeing that, and they're not learning, and they're not likely to ask a question. They're not going to call you to ask a question where they might have just leant over and said, hey, I'm not sure about this. I think it has a massive impact on learning, development, training. Huge.
You've spoken a lot about working from home tips. Is this something that would be good to talk about at the moment about home?
Totally. So right now, my advice to employers who are doing work from home because of coronavirus, or any sort of situation like this might happen, is just keep in contact with them. That's the best way to support them. But generally, if you're looking at doing this, I would really weigh up the reason why. Why are you doing it? Are you going to lose awesome employees if you don't? Or are you just trying to keep with the times? Because I'm not convinced. I'm just, from my experience and what I have tried in my business and with me personally, just not convinced it's the best way. Really understand why you're making a change, or why you're implementing something because it's a fad, rather than this is actually going to propel my business, or this is actually going to mean that my staff are going to be performing better or more engaged, or don't do it just because it's the cool thing to do. And if someone comes to you and says, I want to work from home, a deeper conversation, a deeper thought needs to go into it, I think.
Yeah, and reflecting on the culture and the effects on the culture of the business.
Yeah, I think it has. And I've got some peers that have started businesses and built really big businesses with work from home, but they were always like that. So they were remote businesses. And there's heaps of consultants out there that are specialists in this area, and have, there's lots of tips of how to make it work. But I personally, I don't like it. I don't like it at all. Yeah.
And the mental health side of it, and getting energy from others.
Situation that the world is going through at the moment, and this whole point of having to self-isolate for 14 days and all this sort of stuff has brought up this isolation element. And isolation is what we are struggling with in our community. It's one of a key reason for depression and this lack of connection, even though we're more connected than ever through social media. And I love social media, and I think it has absolutely enhanced my life and connection. But it's very easy to be forgotten and hide behind your phone and actually be in a really dark place, and no one really knows. For those that are having to have people work from home now as well, would be to support them in how to work. So that whole concept of getting up and starting your day in a certain routine, closing off the day, and just because your staff are working from home doesn't then mean you should be contacting them 24 hours a day. And I often say this to business owners, yes, you can write the email to them at 3 o'clock in the morning or 9:30 at night or whatever, but perhaps don't send it or put a timer on it, because a lot of people feel, especially if an email comes from the boss, that they need to respond. They need to respond if they've seen it and they're awake. And so, and I know I used to do that, and I think I used to cause a bit of anxiety for my staff. They feel like, oh, it's the weekend, but I've got an email, so I better respond. And so I learnt that, write all the emails, but perhaps don't hit send until work hours. So I want business owners to. I'm all for flexibility. I'm all for creating an individualized or a customized employee experience. But I'm also more so interested in creating a business that is sustainable and strong and profitable and grows and offers people an opportunity to do great work and grow as a person, because I believe that employees, more than anything, they want to do good work, grow and progress, more than any perks that you can offer them. And flexible working can create some great benefits, but there is a lot of downside to it that we do not talk about. And so I hope this conversation helps people think about, well, you know, why am I really doing this? What's the real impact and what's the real benefit, and how do they actually weigh up? And because, you know, a lot of the really big companies that started doing this a few years ago have all reversed and said, no, everyone has to come into the office. We saw that when we went round Silicon Valley.
Yeah, the culture's hard. It's easier to manage when you can see it in front of you.
Totally, and I listened to Tom Bilyeu say the other day that the proximity of your people is incredibly important. So he won't have people work from home, or he won't. Needs them close by, and I totally agree with that. And I look at the journey of my business life, and the team was always performing better, and the business was always performing better when we were all there. So that hits off season 4, episode 51. I'm so glad you're back. I'm really, really excited about what I'm going to share with you over the coming year. There's going to be so much great content for you, and I'm going to continue showing you New York, and I'm going to continue talking about chasing dreams, and we're going to continue supporting small businesses, and it's going to be rad, and I'm so glad you're here. So subscribe if you haven't already, and let's do this.